Check now the best anti-stress solution for your everyday life. Click the link in the description for your anti-stress solution.
Significant uncertainty about U.S. fiscal policy under Trump Fed's Fischer. U.S. Federal Reserve Vice Chair Stanley Fischer said there was significant uncertainty about U.S. fiscal policy under the Trump administration, but the Fed would stick to its targets of creating full employment and getting inflation to 2%. There is quite significant uncertainty about what's actually going to happen. I don't think anyone quite knows. It's a process which involves both the administration and the Congress in deciding fiscal policy, Fischer said, speaking at an economics summit at Warwick University on Saturday. At the moment we're going strictly according to what we see as our responsibility according to the law, which is maintaining full employment and getting inflation to 2%. U.S. expresses objection to Palestinian as UN envoy to Libya. The United States has objected to United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres' choice of former Palestinian Prime Minister Salam Fayyad as the body's new representative to Libya. It was unclear whether the objection, expressed in a statement late on Friday by Nikki Haley, the United States ambassador to the United Nations, Haley, had ended Fayyad's candidacy. Guterres spokesman Stefan Dujarric said on Saturday that the proposal to nominate Fayyad was solely based on Mr. Fayyad's recognized personal qualities and his competence for that position. The United States wields significant influence as one of the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council. The United States was disappointed to see a letter indicating the intention to appoint the former Palestinian Authority Prime Minister to lead the UN mission in Libya, Haley said in her statement. For too long the UN has been unfairly biased in favor of the Palestinian Authority to the detriment of our allies in Israel, she said. Haley added that the United States does not currently recognize a Palestinian state or support the signal this appointment would send within the United Nations. The U.S. ambassador said Washington encouraged Israel and the Palestinians to come together directly on a solution to end their conflict. Dujarric said in response that United Nations staff serve strictly in their personal capacity. They do not represent any government or country. The Secretary-General reiterates his pledge to recruit qualified individuals, respecting regional diversity, and notes that, among others, no Israeli and no Palestinian have served in a post of high responsibility at the United Nations. This is a situation that the Secretary-General feels should be corrected, always based on personal merit and competencies of potential candidates for specific posts. Fayyad, a Texas-educated former International Monetary Fund official, was Prime Minister of the Palestinian Authority from 2007 to 2013. He had earned praise in the international community for his efforts to crack down on corruption and to build effective Palestinian public institutions. Guterres selected Fayyad to take over as Libya envoy from Martin Kobler, a German diplomat who has served as the Hundreds of immigrants arrested in routine U.S. enforcement surge. U.S. federal immigration agents arrested hundreds of undocumented immigrants in at least 4 states this week in what officials on Friday called routine enforcement actions. Reports of immigration sweeps this week sparked concern among immigration advocates and families, coming on the heels of President Donald Trump's executive order barring refugees and immigrants from 7 majority Muslim nations. That order is currently on hold. The fear coursing through immigrant homes and the native-born Americans who love immigrants as friends and family is palpable, Ali Noorani, executive director of the National Immigration Forum, said in a statement. Reports of raids in immigrant communities are a grave concern. The enforcement actions took place in Atlanta, New York, Chicago, Los Angeles and surrounding areas, said David Marin, Director of Enforcement and Removal for the Los Angeles Field Office of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Only 5 of 161 people arrested in Southern California would not have been enforcement priorities under the Obama administration, he said. The agency did not release a total number of detainees. The Atlanta office, which covers 3 states, arrested 200 people, Brian Cox, a spokesman for the office, said. The 161 arrests in the Los Angeles area were made in a region that included 7 highly populated counties, Marin said. Marin called the 5-day operation an enforcement surge. In a conference call with reporters, he said that such actions were routine, pointing to one last summer in Los Angeles under former President Barack Obama. The rash of these recent reports about ICE checkpoints and random sweeps, that's all false and that's dangerous and irresponsible, Marin said. Reports like that create a panic. He said that of the people arrested in Southern California, only 10 did not have criminal records. Of those, 5 had prior deportation orders. Michael Kagan, a professor of immigration law at the University of Nevada at Las Vegas, said immigration advocates are concerned that the arrests could signal the beginning of more aggressive enforcement and increased deportations under Trump. It sounds as if the majority are people who would have been priorities under Obama as well, Kagan said in a telephone interview. But the others may indicate the first edge of a new wave of arrests and deportations. Trump recently broadened the categories of people who could be targeted for immigration enforcement to anyone who had been charged with a crime, removing an Obama. China gets an early win off Trump, but many battles remain. Combining public bluster with behind-the-scenes diplomacy, China wrested a concession from the United States as the two presidents spoke for the first time this week, but Beijing may not be able to derive much comfort from the win on U.S. policy toward Taiwan. Several areas of disagreement between the superpowers, including currency, trade, the South China Sea and North Korea, were not mentioned in public statements on Thursday's telephone conversation between Presidents Xi Jinping and Donald Trump. In getting Trump to change course on the One China policy, Beijing may have overplayed its hand. Trump had upset Beijing before he took office by taking a call from Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen, then casting doubt on the One China policy, under which Washington acknowledges the Chinese position that there is only one China and Taiwan is part of it. Trump changed tack and agreed to honor the One China policy during the call, prompting jubilation in China. Beijing had been working on diplomatic ways to engage Trump's team and largely blaming Taiwan for stirring things up. In L4N1FV21K, laying the foundation for that call had been the low-key engagement of China's former ambassador to Washington and top diplomat, the urbane and fluent English-speaking Yang Jiechi, with Trump's national security advisor Michael Flynn. China was pragmatic and patient. It made every effort to smooth out the relationship, and it paid off, said Jia Kingo, dean of the School of International Studies at Peking University, who has advised the government on foreign policy. But China also made very clear Taiwan was not up for negotiation, unleashing state media to threaten war and punishment for U.S. firms if that bottom line was breached. China has long described self-ruled Taiwan, claimed by Beijing as its sacred territory, as the most sensitive issue in Sino-U.S. relations. Its military had become alarmed after the Trump-Tsai call and was considering strong measures to prevent the island from moving toward independence, sources with ties to senior military officers told Reuters in December. In L4N1S0VR, a source familiar with China's thinking on relations with the United States, speaking to Reuters last month, said China had actually not been too bothered with Trump's Taiwan comments before he took office, as he was not president then and was only expressing his personal view. If he continues with this once he becomes president, then there's no saying what we'll do, the source said. Tsai's chilled heart, despite the U.S. concession, military tensions remain. On Saturday, the overseas edition of the ruling Communist Party's People's Daily placed a picture on its front page of Chinese warships about to embark on a new round of drills in the South China Sea, right next to an upbeat commentary about the Xi-Trump call. The paper's WeChat account took a harsher line, saying that with Trump getting back with the program on One China, Taiwan had better watch out. The heart of that Madam Tsai on the other side of the Taiwan Strait must at this moment be chilled to the core, it said. One senior Western diplomat said China had been redoubling its efforts to win over the Vatican, one of a handful of countries to retain official ties with Taiwan. Taiwan says it hopes for continued U.S. support, and one ruling Democratic Progressive Party official told Reuters that the One China policy had not affected previous U.S. arms sales to Taiwan, even as U.S. presidents' commitment to the island have waxed and waned. Xi has put great personal political capital into seeking a solution over Taiwan, an issue that has festered since 1949 when defeated nationalist forces fled to the island after losing the civil war to the communists. China has never renounced the use of force to bring Taiwan under its control. But in its relations with Washington, the risk for Beijing remains that its diplomatic win over one China will be short-lived, as Trump will not want to be seen as having caved in. What he's shown the Chinese is he's willing to touch the third rail of U.S.-China relations, said Dean Cheng, China expert at the Conservative Heritage Foundation in Washington. Beijing can't predict what he'll do next, and he's only been in office 3 weeks. What is he going to do on trade and other economic issues? U.S. officials said the affirmation of the One China policy was an effort to get the relationship back on track and moving forward. In L1N1FV1 RU, but Trump's change of tack may be seen by Beijing as a climb down, said Tom Rafferty.
If you like to receive more news on our YouTube channel, please click the subscribe button. If you like to receive an alert every time a new upload is made, hit the bell. Give us a like to the video or dislike if you agree or not to the news. Be proactive. Is your life and the news will serve your day. Finally, leave us your opinion in the comment section on what you think about the subject. Thank you and stay tuned to Breaking News 24.